The Hymn of the Pearl, translated by G.R.S. Mead. When, a quiet little child, I was dwelling in the house of my father's kingdom, and in the wealth and the glories of my upbringers I was delighting. From the east, our home, my parents forth sent me with journey provisions. Indeed, from the wealth of our treasure they bound me up for a load. Large was it, yet it was so light that all alone I could bear it. Gold from the land of Beth Eleah, silver from Gazak the Great, chalcedonies of India, iris-hued opals from Kashan. They girt me with adamant, that hath power to cut even iron. My glorious robe they took off me, which in their love they had wrought me, and my purple mantle also, which was woven to match with my stature. And with me they made a compact. In my heart wrote it, not to forget it. If you go down into Egypt, and thence you bring the one pearl, the pearl that lies in the sea, hard by the loud-breathing serpent, then shalt thou put on thy robe and thy mantle that goeth upon it. And with thy brother, our second, shall thou be heir to our kingdom. I left the east and went down with 2 couriers with me, for the way was hard and dangerous, for I was young to tread it. I traversed the borders of Meshan, the mart of the eastern merchants, and I reached the land of Babel, and entered the walls of Sarbeg. Down further I went into Egypt, and from me parted my escorts. Straightway I went to the serpent, near his lodging I settled, to take away my pearl, while he should sleep and should slumber. Lone was I there, yea, all lonely, to my fellow lodgers a stranger. However, I saw there a nobleman, from out of the dawn land my kinsman, a young man fair and well-favored, son of grandees, he came and joined me. I made him my chosen companion, a comrade for sharing my wares with. He warned me against the Egyptians, against mixing with the unclean ones. For I had clothed me as they were, that they might not guess I had come from afar to take off the pearl, and so rouse the serpent against me. But from some occasion or another they learned I was not of their country. With their wiles they made my acquaintance. Yea, they gave me their victuals to eat. I forgot that I was a king's son, and became a slave to their king. I forgot all concerning the pearl for which my parents had sent me, and from the weight of their victuals I sank down into a deep sleep. All this that now was befalling my parents perceived and were anxious. It was then proclaimed in our kingdom that all should speed to our gate, kings and chieftains of Parthia, and of the east of all the princes. And this is the counsel they came to, I should not be left down in Egypt. And for me they wrote out a letter, and to it each noble his name set. From us, King of kings, thy father and thy mother, Queen of the dawn land, and from our second, thy brother, to thee, son, down in Egypt, our greeting. Up and arise from thy sleep, give ear to the words of our letter. Remember that thou art a king's son. See whom thou hast served in thy slavedom. Bethink thyself of the pearl for which thou didst journey to Egypt. Remember thy glorious robe, thy splendid mantle, remember. Remember to put on and wear as adornment, when thy name may be read in the book of heroes, and with our successor, thy brother, thou may be heir in our kingdom. My letter was surely a letter the king had sealed up with his right hand against the children of Babel, the wicked, the tyrannical demons of Sarbeg. It flew in the form of the eagle, of all the winged tribes the kingbird. It flew and aligned beside me, and turned into speech altogether. At its voice and the sound of its winging, I waked and arose from my deep sleep. Unto me I took it and kissed it, I loosened its seal and read it, and it stood in my heart writ. The words of my letter were written. I remembered that I was a king's son, and my rank did long for its nature. I bethought me against the pearl, for which I was sent down to Egypt. And I began then to charm him, the terrible, loud-breathing serpent. I lulled him to sleep and to slumber, chanting over him the name of my father, the name of our second, my brother, and the name of my mother, the East Queen. And thereon I snatched up the pearl, and I returned to the house of my father. Their filthy, unclean garments I stripped off and left in their country. To the way that I came I betook me, to the light of our home, to the dawn land. On the road I found there before me my letter that had roused me, and with its voice it had roused me, so now with its light it did lead me. On fabric of silk, in letter of red, with shining appearance before me, encouraging me with its guidance. With its love it was drawing me onward. I went forth, through Sarbeg I passed, I left Babylon on my left hand, and I reached unto Mashon the Great, the meeting place of the merchants, that lieth hard by the seashore. My glorious robe that I'd stripped off, and my mantle with which it was covered, down from the heights of Hyrantia, thither my parents did send me, by the hands of their treasure dispensers, who trustworthy were it trusted. Without my recalling its fashion, in house of my father my childhood had left it. At once, as soon as I saw it, the glory looked like my own self. I saw it in all of me, and saw me in all of it, that we were twain in distinction, and yet again one in one likeness. I saw too the treasures also, who unto me had down brought it. We were twain, and yet of one likeness, for one sign of the king was upon them, who through them restored me to the glory, the pledge of my kingship. The glorious robe all bespangled with sparkling splendors of color, with gold and also with beryls, chalcedonies, iris-hued opals, with sards of varying colors to match its grandeur. Moreover, it had been completed. With adamantine jewels, all of its seams were off-fastened. Moreover, the King of Kings' image was depicted entirely all over it, as with sapphires above was it wrought in a motley of color. I saw that moreover, over all of it, the motions of Gnosis abounding. I saw it further was making ready as though for to speak. I heard the sound of its music, which it whispered as it descended, Behold, him the active in deeds, for whom I was reared with my father. I too have felt in myself, how that his works waxed my stature. And now with its kingly motions was it pouring itself out towards me, and make great haste in the hands of its givers, that I might take and receive it. And me, too, for my love urged forward, to run for me to meet it, to take it. And I stretched myself forth to receive it. With its beauty of color I decked me, and my mantle of sparkling colors I wrapped entirely all over me. I clothed me therewith and ascended to the gate of greeting and homage. I bowed my head and did homage to the glory of him who had sent it, whose commands I now had accomplished, and who had, too, done what he'd promised. And there, at the gate of his house sons, I mingled myself with his princes, for he had received me with gladness, and I was with him in his kingdom. To whom the whole of his servants, with sweet-sounding voices, sing praises. He had promised that with him to the court of the King of Kings I should speed, and taking with me my pearl, should with him be seen by our king.